Arrival and first impressions. I arrived in Prague on a crisp autumn morning, the golden sunlight casting a warm glow over the city's iconic spires. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the faint scent of roasting chestnuts from a nearby street vendor. After a smooth ride from Václav Havel Airport, I checked into a charming boutique hotel nestled in the heart of the old town. The hotel was a perfect blend of historic charm and modern comfort, with wooden beams, antique furniture, and a view of the cobblestone streets below. Eager to begin my adventure, I stepped out into the bustling streets. The first thing that struck me was the sheer beauty of the architecture. Every building seemed to tell a story, with its intricate facades, Gothic spires, and Baroque details. My first stop was the old town square, Staromestsk na Městí, the historic heart of Prague. The square was alive with activity. Tourists snapping photos, street performers entertaining the crowd, and the aroma of trdelník, a sweet, spiral-shaped pastry, wafting through the air. At the center of the square stood the astronomical clock, Pražský orloj, a masterpiece of medieval engineering. As the clock struck noon, I joined the crowd gathered to watch the hourly show. The tiny doors above the clock face opened, and the figures of the 12 apostles appeared, followed by the ringing of bells and the crowing of a golden rooster. It was a magical moment, and I felt like I had stepped back in time. After the clock show, I wandered through the square, admiring the Church of Our Lady before Tin, with its twin Gothic spires reaching toward the sky. I also visited the old town hall, where I climbed the tower for a panoramic view of the city. From above, Prague looked like a scene from a fairy tale, with its sea of red rooftops, church spires, and the winding Vltava River in the distance. For lunch, I stopped at a traditional Czech restaurant tucked away in a quiet corner of the square. I ordered svíčková, a classic Czech dish of marinated beef served with creamy sauce, bread dumplings, and a dollop of cranberry sauce. The meal was hearty and delicious, perfectly complemented by a glass of locally brewed Pilsner beer. Feeling energized, I made my way to the Charles Bridge, Karlov Most, one of Prague's most iconic landmarks. The 14th century stone bridge was adorned with 30 Baroque statues of saints, each with its own story. As I walked across the bridge, I paused to admire the views of the Vltava River and the Prague Castle looming in the distance. The bridge was bustling with artists, musicians, and vendors, creating a lively and vibrant atmosphere. On the other side of the bridge, I explored the lesser town, Malá Strana, a charming district known for its narrow, winding streets and colorful Baroque buildings. I visited the Church of St. Nicholas, a stunning example of Baroque architecture, with its ornate frescoes and towering dome. As I wandered through the streets, I stumbled upon a cozy cafe and treated myself to a slice of apple strudel and a cup of strong Czech coffee. As the sun began to set, I made my way up to Prague Castle, Pražský hrad, perched on a hill overlooking the city. The castle complex was illuminated against the night sky, creating a magical atmosphere. I explored the St. Vitus Cathedral, a Gothic masterpiece with its soaring spires and intricate stained glass windows. Inside, the cathedral was awe-inspiring, with its vaulted ceilings, ornate chapels, and the tomb of Saint Wenceslas. Afterward, I wandered through the castle grounds, taking in the views of the city below. The twinkling lights of Prague stretched out before me, and I felt a deep sense of wonder and gratitude. To end the day, I stopped at a traditional Czech pub in the lesser town. I ordered a plate of kolino, roasted pork knee, and another glass of Pilsner beer, savoring the flavors and reflecting on the day's adventures. History and hidden gems. I woke up early on my second day, eager to explore more of Prague's rich history and hidden gems. After a hearty breakfast of klebiki, open-faced sandwiches, and coffee at a local cafe, I made my way back to Prague Castle to explore it in more detail. The castle complex was vast, and I spent hours wandering through its courtyards, gardens, and historic buildings. One of the highlights was Golden Lane, a picturesque street of tiny, colorful houses that once housed castle guards and artisans. The houses had been converted into small museums and shops, and I enjoyed browsing the displays of medieval armor, weapons, and crafts. I also visited the old royal palace, where I learned about the history of the Bohemian kings and the famous defenestration of Prague. Next, I headed to the Jewish quarter, József, one of the most historic and poignant parts of the city. I started my visit at the old Jewish cemetery, a hauntingly beautiful sight with thousands of tombstones crowded together. The cemetery was a powerful reminder of Prague's Jewish community, which had endured centuries of persecution and hardship. I also visited the Spanish synagogue, a stunning building with Moorish-style architecture and intricate decorations. Inside, I learned about the history of Prague's Jewish community and their contributions to the city's culture and heritage. The Jewish Museum was another highlight, with its collection of artifacts, manuscripts, and artworks. For lunch, I stopped at a traditional Czech tavern in the Jewish quarter. I ordered goulash, a rich and flavorful stew made with beef, onions, and paprika, served with bread dumplings. The dish was warm and comforting, perfect for the cool autumn weather. After lunch, I took a leisurely stroll to Petřín Hill, a peaceful oasis in the heart of the city. The hill was covered in trees, their leaves turning shades of gold and red. I climbed up to the Petřín Tower, a miniature version of the Eiffel Tower, and took the elevator to the top. The panoramic views of Prague were breathtaking, and I spent a long time taking in the sights and snapping photos. In the evening, I treated myself to a classical music concert at the Rudolfinum, one of Prague's most prestigious concert halls. The performance featured works by Dvorak and Smetana, two of the Czech Republic's most famous composers. The music was beautiful and moving, and it felt like a perfect way to connect with Prague's rich cultural heritage. Farewell to Prague. On my final day in Prague, I decided to explore some of the city's more modern and vibrant areas. I started my day at Wenceslas Square, Václavské náměstí, a bustling boulevard lined with shops, restaurants, and hotels. The square was a hub of activity, with locals and tourists alike going about their day. I visited the National Museum, a grand neo-Renaissance building at the top of the square. The museum's exhibits covered everything from natural history to art and culture, and I enjoyed learning more about the Czech Republic's rich heritage. The highlight was the museum's stunning interior, with its grand staircase, ornate ceilings, and beautiful frescoes. Afterward, I took a short river cruise on the Vltava. The boat glided past some of Prague's most famous landmarks, including the Charles Bridge, Prague Castle, and the Dancing House. Seeing the city from the water gave me a new perspective on its beauty, and I felt a deep sense of peace and contentment. Before leaving, I stopped at a riverside cafe for a cup of coffee and a slice of medovnik, honey cake. As I sat there, watching the swans glide by and the sunlight dance on the water, I reflected on my time in Prague. The city had captured my heart with its charm, history, and vibrant energy. From its stunning architecture and rich cultural heritage to its warm hospitality and delicious cuisine, Prague was a destination that truly enchanted. As I boarded my flight home, I knew that I would carry the memories of Prague with me forever. It was a city that felt like stepping into a fairy tale, and I knew that I would return someday to explore more of its magic. Reflection. Prague is a city that leaves a lasting impression. Its beauty, history, and culture create an experience that is both enriching and unforgettable. Whether you're wandering its cobblestone streets, marveling at its Gothic and Baroque architecture, or savoring its hearty cuisine, Prague is a place that truly enchants. It's a city that invites you to slow down, soak in its beauty, and create memories that will last a lifetime.